I'm Brandon Parsons. Welcome to the Abode Mode, where we talk about everything when it comes to your home. Today, what I want to talk about is energy loss. It's one of the biggest things I see. Most houses I go to are under insulated. And it's like, how do you know how much insulation you should have in your home? So I just want to give you 4 or 5 quick tips just to know, is your house insulated enough, how to check for it, and what to do about it if you do need to have it insulated. So check it out. First and foremost, the best resource that I know available today to understand of how much insulation or what type of products you should be installing in your home is EnergyStar.gov. They give you a nice free handy map and list of all the different products that are available to you based off of your climate, because depending on where you live in the United States, there are different criteria to meet. So it's a really good reference point to see how much attic insulation you should have, what kind of windows, and that way when you do buy something, you either don't over-purchase or don't under-purchase for your home, and that's the best resource that I know about. The biggest way most homes lose energy. The biggest way most homes lose energy is because we try to comfort our homes so that we can live nice and healthy and comfortable from the outside elements, right? So either in the summer we're keeping it cool, in the winter we're keeping it warm. So when we're introducing a new source of energy into that environment, it's important to keep as much in as we possibly can. The best way I can break it down for you is if you think about, I like to think about, my mom always used to tell me, and I know my head's bald now because of the COVID-19, but my mom always used to tell me, wear a hat in the wintertime. It's the same thing with your house. 60% or so of the energy that you lose goes through your attic. So that's the number one place I see most benefit for homeowners is to check, because most attics I get into do not have enough insulation. And it's a really simple and oftentimes very economical thing to do. Usually costs a lot less than, say, doing a whole house full of windows, but you can see just as much energy savings, if not more, and retain comfort. Plus, if your attic space is under insulated and you live in northern climate, that can also cause the roof to prematurely fail. So having insulation does also affect a lot of other things when it comes to the outside of the house. Just making sure that you have enough insulation will not only save you energy, but it's also going to make the home perform better. And we think about not just things like the roof, but also things like the HVAC system. The more the HVAC system has to run, the more chances it's going to have to break. So if it doesn't have to run as much, you're going to save money not only on your energy bills, but you're going to also save money by not having to replace that HVAC system as often. So you lose about 60-50% through the attic. The 30 to 40% goes through doors and windows. Not every window is the same. So the other thing I will advise is if you go on EnergyStar.gov, check out there's a U factor. So that's how much energy can transfer through the window. And it does vary depending on climate, where you're at. There's different coatings that you can put on the windows. These are things that you definitely want to make sure if you do go to replace your windows that you make sure and get the right ones. Now, I will say windows are going to be a more costly thing that you do to your house. However, it's going to be the number one thing that affects your comfortability. Because if you think about it, if you got a drafty window and you're like sitting there trying to watch TV and you feel that draft in, you got a blanket, you're all wrapped up, a brand new window won't do that, especially if it's the right insulated one. It's just a quicker way so that, when the windows are done, you can feel more comfortable in your home. The thing is, if you do replace your windows, doors are another thing. They settle, they get out of square, the seals fall off. These are things that are drafty and you don't realize it, but you're losing tons and tons and tons of energy. If you think about like a coffee cup, if you poke just one hole in that coffee cup and it's full of coffee, or that hot coffee is going to run out of that hole, right? It's the same thing if you have a hole in the door. Your air conditioning or your furnace pressurizes the environment with cool or warm, fresh air all the time, right? Well, if you have a leak, you're losing, it's all getting directed right there. And that's the way, because it's a pressurized vessel if you think about it in that way. So it's important that these things are sealed. Now, you don't always necessarily have to replace the doors. There are things that you can do, such as buy different sealing kits for them and just making sure that you don't see daylight, you don't have any drafts coming through, and that's going to go a long way for you, is not only being comfortable, but also saving money, and that's what we all want. After the attic insulation, I think, is number 1. Windows and doors, probably number 2. Number 3, it might be about the same as windows and doors, but your bond board that goes around the house. Now, what is that? So you have a home foundation. On top of that foundation sits our home joists. Around that goes a rim joist and a bond board, and what that does is that holds everything together. The problem is, on most older homes, it wasn't required to insulate those cavities. And believe it or not, you don't really think about it, but at the top of your foundation wall in your basement, if you look above there and you're just seeing wood, that's a problem. Those areas should have pocket insulation in them. So, and there's a million different resources on that, but you want to make sure that it's insulated so you're not losing all that energy through the bond board. Quick tip is if you have a crawl space or your attic space where you have ductwork running through, these are things that you can seal up and have insulated. Make sure that they're insulated, because if they're not, you're paying to heat or cool spaces that are not supposed to be comforted. And you don't want to be doing that, because you're going to lose a lot of energy through your HVAC system, so that it makes it more efficient when it is insulated. It's just your plumbing pipes that are exposed. It's always a good idea to have. They make it, it's real cheap, but they make a insulation that you can actually wrap the pipes with. It's fairly cheap, easy to get a hold of. I know even DTE in my state gives it away a lot of times, where you can wrap those pipes so they'll stay warm or cold, and they don't, because when you have hot water in a system, that hot water stays in that pipe. So you ever notice when you turn on the hot water, it's not hot at first, right? It's because all that water that's sitting in the pipe has to run out. Now think about that. That's more energy that you're losing every time you turn it on. If you can keep that water warmer for a longer period of time, or colder for a longer period of time, the plumbing is going to perform better, and you're going to save energy in the long thing. We don't think about it, right? It's my dad used to go crazy. Shut the light off, right? Shut the light off. They make so many cool things, neat features now. You can have motion sensing lights. When you walk into a room, it'll shut off automatically. And I love LEDs. LEDs are, the technology has gone crazy in the last 5 years. They are the most energy efficient lights on the market, and they produce great light. I remember when they banned the incandescent bulb, I was kind of upset at first, because I'm thinking, well, they only really had fluorescence at the time, and I didn't really care for it's just like this one behind me. It's a little too bright. It's not warm. So the cool thing about the LEDs is they've got dimmable ones. They've got them where they look like, I've got them in my kitchen where they look like Edison bulbs. They provide great light, not a lot of heat, not a lot of energy loss, and they last a very, very long time. If you replace all your bulbs in your house, you're going to see a lot of energy savings over time, but also you're not going to have to replace those lights as often, and that's cool too, because how many times do you have like a bulb that's burned out? You don't want to mess with it, right? Like that's just like the last thing we want to deal with. So having something that performs is also key to having an optimized home. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, please smash that like button at the bottom of my page. Subscribe to my page, because I'm just going to continue to go over things that are important to you to make sure that you have a healthy, happy home.